Hello children, welcome to Learning Made Easy. After a long time, we're gonna learn a lesson. In today's video, we're gonna learn the non-detail, the selfish giant. This story was written by Oscar Wilde. Come on children, let's learn the story. The story is set in a village, and most of the story's incidents happen inside the garden of a selfish giant. There was a huge castle in the middle of a village, and this castle was owned by a very selfish giant. During the absence of the giant, all the children from the village, they would get inside the garden and they would play there. Every afternoon after school, the children would get inside the giant's garden and they would play there very happily. They would play under the tree. Sometimes they would even climb over the tree and they would play there. But all these things happened only when the giant was not there. The giant had gone somewhere. Where? The giant had gone to meet his friend, the Cornish ogre, who was staying in Cornwall in London. The giant came after 7 years to his castle. When he entered his castle, he saw the children playing in his garden. He got very angry and he threatened them and he chased them out. He said, "My garden is my own garden." Saying this, he chased all the children out. Immediately, he built a huge wall around his garden to prevent the children from getting inside. Not only that, he kept a notice board also. And he wrote on the notice board, "Trespassers will be prosecuted," which means people who enter without permission will be punished. After this, the children were unable to enter the garden and they were so sad. They started playing on the road, which was always dusty, and they had many disturbances while playing on the road. They were so sad. They used to tell, "How happy were we there inside the garden." Once the children were sent away from the garden lost its spring. There was only winter everywhere inside the giant's garden. There was snowfall, there was heavy frost, and the frost invited his friend North Wind. North Wind also came there and it invited hail. All these four played around the garden and they maintained the continuous cold weather inside the garden. However, outside the garden, the seasons changed. People got spring and they also got autumn. There were flowers and fruits in the gardens of other people outside. But only in the giant's garden there was still winter. There were no flowers on the trees, there were no fruits, even birds stopped singing, and the grasses also failed to let their flowers outside. Since there were no children in the garden, even the plants in the giant's garden were no more happy. They didn't even give blossoms. The giant became very sad because he didn't get spring in his garden. He started expecting spring and he also expected autumn. But autumn, she said, he is very selfish. So autumn also did not come to the selfish giant's garden. The giant was very sad because of this. But one day, as he was looking through his window, he noticed that his garden has got spring all of a sudden, and there were blossoms and birds everywhere in his garden. He noticed that there was a huge hole on the garden's wall, and children had crept through the hole, and they had started playing under the tree, and they had climbed on the tree also. And wherever there were children above the trees, all those trees had blossoms. But there was only one tree without blossoms, and it still had winter, and that tree was at the corner of the garden. And under the tree there was a small boy who was trying to climb over the tree, but he was too tiny to climb over it. Even the tree tried to help him, but the tiny boy was unable to climb over the tree. The giant was seeing all these things, and he silently came to the boy. The boy was still crying because he was unable to climb over the tree. Immediately the giant lifted the boy very softly, and he put him on the tree. The boy got so happy. He hugged the giant and he also kissed the giant. This changed the giant's behavior totally, and he realized that he must be kind with the children. He allowed all the children to play with him. These children, they started playing with him. Throughout the day they were very happy and they played in the garden. In the evening they came to bid farewell. They came to say goodbye to the giant. The giant noticed that the small boy was missing. The giant loved the small boy the most because the small boy kissed him. The giant asked where the small boy was, but no children knew about him. They told that they didn't know where he came from. From that day, every day children came to the garden and they played. But the giant would sit there on his armchair waiting for the small boy. He became very old as days went by. He was not only old, he was very feeble. He became very weak because of his age. The giant kept waiting for the small boy. One day, while he was looking through his window, as he dressed himself, he had a wonderful sight. There he saw the boy again. The same tiny boy had come to the giant's garden. Immediately the giant ran downstairs to meet the boy, but when he went closer, he noticed that there were wounds of hurt on the palms and on the feet of the boy. The giant got angry by seeing the wounds. He asked the little boy who hurt him so badly. But the boy told that those wounds were accepted by the boy because of his love. Immediately the giant got confused. The giant asked the boy who he was, and he also understood that the little boy was no one else but Jesus Christ, who accepted nails on his palms and his feet for the sake of human beings. The giant understood that God Himself had come in the form of a child to see him, because the selfish giant changed his nature from being selfish to an open minded one. He is no more wicked, he is very kind. So the God Himself had come to meet him the second time. The selfish giant started looking at the tiny boy with all awe, with respect and admiration. The little boy told that once the giant had allowed him to play in his garden. Now the little boy is going to take the giant to his garden, which is paradise, which is heaven. After that incident, when the children came in the afternoon, they noticed that the selfish giant was dead under the same tree, and there were flaws all over his body. God Himself had come in the form of a small child and had taken the soul of the selfish giant to heaven. Once the giant was very selfish, but he realized his mistake and he changed his nature. When he started loving children, God Himself started loving the giant. As a result, he was able to reach God's feet. He was able to reach the heaven. With this, we have come to the end of the video, children. Let's meet in the next lesson. Thank you.